Lee Hannah angrily sat up with all her strength and shouted, "Enough, let's do that to your woman." Julio calmed down and sat up. "Well, you're not her anyway. Get up, I'll take you to meet them." "Who's that?" asked Lee Hannah. "The people who will help you get out of this situation," Julio said coldly. "Show me my brother's phone, even for a second." "I need to see the message that just arrived," Lee Hannah pleaded. "Be thankful I gave it to you," Julio said. They walked out of the room, downstairs, nagging at each other. Lee Hannah found it quite inconvenient to walk out with him with such a messy appearance. It was easy to misunderstand. Downstairs, Lee Hannah almost screamed. Her 3 associates were sitting there. They meet again in surprise, especially 3 of Lee Hannah's colleagues who were surprised at her current appearance. "Looks like you've had enough." Julio's words startled Lee Hannah to look over, who had just spoken Korean. Lou waved Lee Hannah towards her seat, but her bewildered expression as she bent over the handcuffs attached between Julio and her made Lou understand she couldn't walk up to him. "I'm a prisoner now," Lee Hannah said boredly. "How are the 3 of you here?" said Lee Hannah, unable to hide his curiosity. "Mr. Parenti has contacted us. Are you okay?" Logan asked her calmly, as his manager was genuinely attentive to his subordinates, even if she was no longer under his control. Lee Hannah seemed quite happy about his current state since his arrest, eating, sleeping, dressing, kissing, and even stabbing him once, which was not bad. Confirming this situation, Julio said, "Is Juan Lee Hannah's nickname?" he said and turned to look at her. To her slight annoyance, he really didn't trust her at all. Logan replied, "Not now, but she's been using the name for a while before." "Does that mean she's not the FBI?" asked Julio, to Logan's answer, "Yes. So I want Valentine's Day to do this mission, send a keeper to Hannah." Julio swept his gaze towards the 3 men in front of him and stopped at Lou. "I'll do it, if she agrees," Lou said, looking at Lee Hannah. "This is taking more hostages, isn't it? The cunning old fox, Parenti, can't be disappointed." Lee Hannah couldn't keep her composure any longer, snatched the glass of wine that Parenti had just brought to her lips, saying, "This is my own business, don't drag others in." But he didn't find it strange because of her fierce attitude, holding the hand holding Lee Hannah's cup to his mouth to drink again. But just after taking a sip, Lee Hannah reached out and the cup fell and shattered into pieces. Julio laughed. "That's why I can't let my men guard you. We value our lives," he said, turning to Lou and asking, "What's your name?" "Yun Song." He held out his hand to introduce himself. But in return it was not the handshake of the famous mafia boss. He put a cup in Lou's hand, poured wine full of wine into it. "You get it, drink it all." Julio's smile was satisfying. Lou's eyes did not show any anger, slowly finished the glass of wine, while glancing at Julio's hand that was resting on Lee Hannah's. Julio's defiant expression made Lou feel uncomfortable. Back in the upstairs room, Lee Hannah rubbed her wrists from being handcuffed all day. "If you don't want to be locked up again, be docile," Julio said with a smile, not showing any threat. Lee Hannah received back the contents of her bag, including her phone. She hurriedly opened her phone, looking at the message Dewey had sent earlier. A photo arrived. It looked like Dewey was locked up somewhere, in a good condition. Lee Hannah stares at the landscape in the photo. Dewey is sitting on the floor, and it is not an ordinary floor. Lee Hannah took a pen to draw the shapes in the photo. "It's no ordinary house. It must be at the Munn Shipping Company." Lou, standing next to her, added to her thoughts. He entered the room in silence as always, and that made Lee Hannah angry. "I knocked on the door, but you didn't listen," Lou laughed. Indeed, maybe Lee Hannah was too nervous. "How do you know it's a boat?" asked Lee Hannah. "I don't look at the floor, I look at the logo," Lou said, pointing to a box emblazoned with the logo of Munn Shipping Company. "So maybe Lee Hannah's younger brother is locked up on a boat belonging to that Munn Shipping Company, whose operator is Kong Mujin." Lou leaned down to stroke Lee Hannah's face, softly saying, "It looks like you're safe." In response to Lihanna's irritation, he said, "Of course I want you to live." "I'm not sure, because once Parenti keeps an eye on you, you're like his fuse." In response to Lihanna's curious gaze, Lu gives her more information about Parenti. He is the heir to the Parenti family, a member of the GIS. For those who don't know, this is an organization of the Italian army, specializing in special missions, and he is running the family business from his mansion in Sicily. He has many medical drug deals in the world, and is especially sensitive to women with black hair. It is possible that this is due to his mother being Asian, and his previous girlfriend, an Asian woman who married the Red Mafia. Is her name Zhang Sae? Lihanna wondered. Lu said that her appearance is quite similar to hers, which made Lihanna very interested, continuing to hear more from him. Then quickly ran to the pool where Julio was. "I heard you were invited to a boat party held on one of Mujin's corporate yachts, right?" said Lihanna, his voice hopeful. Julio wasn't in a hurry to answer. He asked her how she got here and got this information. What had she done to him? Lihanna hurriedly said, "Take me with you, please. I heard that Mujin's CEO is also there. I want to meet him." Julio sighed and reminded him, "Don't do anything stupid, go back to your room." Lihanna tries to find a reason for her suggestion. "I'll find you, impersonate you." But Julio said he already knew it. Lihanna went from being frustrated that he couldn't find any other reason to ask him to let him go with him, to feeling annoyed, he still didn't trust her. She obviously knew her imposters, but kept her here just because she said she would help him find them. "Why don't you tell me?" asked Lihanna. Julio said, "Why should I report you?" Lihanna lowered her face and muttered, a little sad. She seemed to be looking forward to his trust. Speaking in English, he ordered. His Korean was not good enough to understand the whole thing she had just said. Lihanna continued to snap in Korean. "How long are you going to fool me? Is this retaliation for me stabbing you?" he said as he approached, pointing his finger at Julio's chest. Julio repeated, speaking in English. Lihanna is really angry. "What if not? Why should I listen to you? Stop speaking in Italian." Julio stood silently lamenting, "You seem too squeamish," but Lihanna didn't stop. She pulled his head down to the level of her face with her hand, warning him, "If they harm my brother, I will kill them all, and first of all, you. It's your fault that my brother was dragged into this, because you're Julio Parenti." Lihanna pushed Julio hard into the pool, disappearing out of sight. Lightning fast, Julio grabbed her wrist and pulled them both into the water. "I don't think so," he muttered, his hands wrapped tightly around Lihanna. The two sink under the water. Lihanna tries to fight, but Julio doesn't let go. He kisses Lihanna on the lips, despite her resistance. Until Lihanna let go of his arms, Julio immediately picked her up. "Hannah," said Julio a little nervously. Lihanna slowly opened her eyes. In his hands, it was just a trick. She tricked him into getting out of that situation. "Why are you grimacing?" asked Lihanna. Julio sighed. "You're kidding a little far, it's not funny." "Isn't that what I said?" Lihanna refused. Julio wasn't really okay, grimacing at the pain in his chest. He reached up to hold it and coughed a little. "Aren't you going to the hospital to check it out?" asked Lihanna sincerely, then grumbling, "Always mistake me for her. You're the one who misunderstood. You and she aren't the same." Julio shook his head. "Bullshit, you look like an abandoned dog." Lihanna walked towards the side of the tank in exasperation. "Hannah," called Lu as he walked over, "come up here. You said you went to change and disappeared." "Are you looking for me?" asked Lihanna. "Of course, I miss you." Lu half-jokingly extended his hand to Lihanna. She grinned. "There's a chance you're making such a joke." Lihanna reached out to grab his hand. But Julio just behind stepped forward and hugged her tightly from behind, his expression full of fierceness. "You really want to go to that party? So join as my girlfriend." "No fools will dare touch my woman," Julio said, glancing at Lu. Hannah turned back to him. Are you going to let me come with you? Julio smiled faintly. Respect your face, so I give you that chance, so you help me ashore. I feel a little unwell, said, and he collapsed on Hannah's shoulder, his arm around her waist. He seemed to be actually a little unwell, and in order to save his brother, Julio's request didn't bother Hannah. Lou stood on the shore with a cold face, collected his hands in his pants pockets, and turned to leave. Hannah and Julio were still standing in the tank. She asked Julio, are you tired inside? Her eyes a little worried, looking at him. We're going out together tomorrow. You're going? In response to Hannah's question, Julio said she would be attending the party and wouldn't be coming in this form. The next morning, in the role of a cute little girlfriend, Hannah splashes beside Julio and goes shopping. Parenti, come in and try this place. Didn't you come in? Hannah constantly calls Julio, causing him to be wary of her acting skills. Just now in the car, she solemnly said that she did not need designer clothes, because it was only used once. Choosing clothes with her was not difficult, because she was already very beautiful, wore anything, and the requirements for clothes were simple. She could move easily and hide weapons. I'll choose this too. Hannah eagerly pointed to the few items hanging in front of her. Julio walked in after her, coming up from behind and leaning over her ear and whispering, "You're even more beautiful to be naked." He started talking jokes again, but as his girlfriend she couldn't be cranky. Hannah smiled and turned around and said, "Of course, I'm beautiful, so whatever I wear will be beautiful." She was about to pull out her wallet to pay when Hannah remembered that she needed another pair of high heels, and she ran over to quickly get a pair of shoes. At the checkout, Julio paid her for all the items she bought, including those shoes. "Hurry up, let's go." Julio suddenly walked out of the store with her shoulders. Hannah looked shy, "But I haven't finished shopping yet." Not completing the shopping also caused the two subordinates to follow Julio carrying tired things. Coming out of the store, Julio whispered, "Don't even think about going to a party with the things you just bought." Hannah smiled obediently like other girls on the street. "Whatever I wear, I will be high-end." Julio said he would look for designer shops around here to find more upscale things. At that moment, Hannah exclaimed, trying to escape the shopping that took time and money, "Oh! Parenti, the cafe. Would you like a drink?" The moment she laughed in front of him stunned Julio. "Just pretending, is it necessary to overwhelm others like that?" Julio said espresso, then walked quickly towards her, took her hand and walked inside. He also successfully plays a standard boyfriend, causing Hannah to lose her mind for a few seconds. It was just work. This feeling made her feel like she was losing her mind when she was with Julio. In the lovely cafe, they sat at a small table on the porch, leisurely sipping their drinks. "I noticed that you weren't afraid of me." Julio looked at her with his chin and said. Hannah was dumbfounded, honestly answering, "Why are you afraid?" "In the nursery where we grew up, it was much scarier." Her gaze turned gray. She remembered the childhood whippings her sisters endured. "Orphanage? Were you abandoned by your parents as a child?" Julio asked kindly. "Since we were born we didn't have parents. We were born at a motel. The woman who gave birth to me and Dewey probably didn't want to kill us, so she was born and left us there. So the first thing I have and the most important thing in my life is my brother," Hannah said with a faint smile. These things told him would not hurt, maybe even give her a little more pity. Julio listened to her wistfully, then said, "It doesn't sound like my twins. We're just waiting to cut each other's throats. Finish your drink, let's go." He told the story as he lifted his eyeglasses and put them on, standing up decisively. They had to keep going, time wasn't much. "All prepared, let's go back to the villa," Julio ordered. "What is it to prepare?" Hannah asked, imagining guns and weapons for the trip, but the answer was dresses, bags, shoes, and jewelry. So he took her shopping just for a joke. "What else do you need what you just bought for?" Hannah almost shouted. "It's fun. I just wanted to joke you a little bit, also take a walk with you for a while, Julio replied seriously. Besides, you look pretty happy too. This sentence of Julio surprised Hannah, a little confused. They came back later. In Hannah's room, Lou is rummaging through her bag, looking for that folding phone. Working while listening to someone's phone. You've made my task a lot smoother, Lou replied. From the other end of the line said, go back to Korea, you have done enough. Lou replied, there's quite a lot of work, and the person I'm working with is very reckless. The other voice came from the phone, he uses Julio Parenti's name. What? Asked Lou, who hung up in a hurry. What are you doing? Hannah returned to her room to find her clothes being hooked. I don't know if you are idly waiting for someone here, or are you waiting for the opportunity to stab that person in the back again? Her gaze was coldly directed at Lou, now no one could trust her. He was using his gentlest face to welcome her back, without the slightest hint of malice. Lou approached Hannah, lifted a lock of her long soft hair. Of course, I am very lonely and waiting for you, he flirted with her again. How's the date? Asked Lou. Dating, it's normal. Lou followed her eagerly, are you interested in that gangster? Hannah turned around and asked, what do you ask? Parenti is your target, isn't it? That's why you chose to guard me to stay here. Lou tried to say, I only care about you, you made a hasty decision today. Hannah said irritably, then what's the relevance, as she stood looking out the window. I thought I made it clear, I care about you, in that romantic way. Lou came from behind Hannah, lifting her hand gently, her gaze a little sad. If you need a partner, isn't it better to choose a mercenary than a mafia? Hannah turned her head coldly in the other direction, you think we're better than them? We also stab, shoot, kill, steal and lie, his gaze fixed on Parenti who was standing with his subordinates in the courtyard. How are we different from them? Her question sparked controversy. Otherwise, at least we don't treat others like trophies. When she runs out of value, she will be mercilessly discarded, Lou warned. Hannah is really angry, my brother was betrayed by the organization, and may have betrayed the organization, no one will save him anyway. And who am I going to ask for help? The government? Or are you? Lou can't answer such difficult questions, but Hannah doesn't put him in a position anymore. Increasingly, I think you know a lot of things. Do you know Kong Mujin's appearance? Lou said coldly, I know, but in exchange for such important information, what do you have for me? I'll save your life, for once. But remember not to touch my stuff again. Hannah put her arm around his neck, whispering, also, don't dream of touching this. She held up Dui's phone and smiled as if she were very close. This look of satisfaction on her face made Lou stop all business thoughts, staring at her with interest. If she were not facing danger to save her brother, she would be cute. The dinner of 3 people was quite awkward. Parenti, Hannah, and her supervisor. Hannah became increasingly interested in fighting with Parenti. Won't you poison us? Julio said, why don't you try it and you'll know. Don't you have a poison tester? Like those ancient kings, Hannah quipped. Lou watched just now, and asked in a low voice, aren't you going to call us over just for dinner? Yes, we'll be done soon, the next destination will be Macau, Julio replied. Hannah is crazy about this, what to do in Macau? She had come to Cambodia to save her brother, and she stood up and banged on the table screaming. Julio put his hand on his chin, bent down and said, calm down. There was a cruise ship that left Cambodia for Macau, and that's where the party was held. Hannah sat down in her chair. Why didn't she think that her brother had been taken somewhere else? After this is over quickly, I have no intention of coming back here, so this is probably our last dinner. Come on, let's run out. Julio's eyes flashed with a flash of sadness, raising the glass of grape wine in his hand. In the same night, a car stopped on the street in front of an old house. Hannah came out in a cool-looking combat suit. the two people behind her nervously asked, "Can you go alone? Do you need me to come with you?" Lou and Julio's subordinates are uneasy about Hannah's single actions. "No need, it'll be done soon. Lee, Hannah is used to being alone. If I don't come back after 10 minutes, you should come in there and stop me." "You too, Lorenzo," Hannah told him. Lee, Hannah needs to confirm information about the people who assisted Dewey in Cambodia in order for her brother to carry out this mission. She needs to confirm all information about the mission he is doing. In a room heavily guarded by two fierce black-clad men, a grimacing young man calls someone, asking to go back to Korea for a medical checkup. "Yes, with this progress, I will soon meet the maker." "Yes, thank you, sir." It seemed he didn't get his point. The young man crumpled his hair nervously. He was trying to escape, returning to Korea to have a chance to escape. It was Tae-jun. Lee, Hannah watched him from a hidden corner, stepping out suddenly, causing Tae-jun to panic. He tries to reach for the gun hidden in the corner of the room, but it is in Hannah's hand. "Answer my question," she ordered. "You look scared like you've done something wrong. Aren't you the one who should feel guilty? Should be me. I just stabbed you in the back a few days ago." "No, don't blame you. You probably thought Dewey was still alive." Tae-jun didn't know much about the news when he was locked here. Lee, Hannah further asked, "So you didn't report back to the organization about me?" Tae-jun shivered. "Can you put down your gun and talk? Are you going to lie again? Dewey had nothing to do with PRT, and you said my brother was killed by the mafia?" Tae-jun asked. "How do you know?" Lee, Hannah coldly replied, "Because I know the person impersonating Parenti. It's Kong Mujin. This is your last chance to tell the truth. You betrayed Dewey, right?" Tae-jun looked embarrassed, controlling his emotions, trying to say as quietly as possible, "Why do you keep claiming that it was me? It was Dewey who betrayed us." Bang, a bullet wound past through his head and hit the glass door. Lee, Hannah smiled coldly. He still has the habit of scratching his neck when lying. At that moment, there was a knock on the door, and Lee, Hannah said in a low voice, "Don't let me catch you anymore." The door opened. Several gangsters opened the door and entered. They screamed when they saw the stranger in the room. "Grab her." Several gunshots rang out in quick succession. A small scuffle in the room, causing two men who were standing in the street to rush in a panic. "Damn she." Tae-jun looked behind him and rushed out the door and ran away.